Let's let it go.
Dr. Rosie Milligan, one of the most sought-after speakers on the circuit today. Her live internet talk show, Express Yourself, is the most provocative, thought-provoking, and talked-about radio show on the internet. There's no holds barred, and Dr. Milligan puts the B in bold. She brings it every Tuesday live at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Rosie has been proclaimed the most provocative female writer of the century. Her books include Satisfying the Black Man and Black Woman Sexually Made Simple, Why Black Men Choose White Women, and the book Nigga Please. These books have raised eyebrows across the country. She has authored 21 books and published 350 titles for authors nationwide. Check Dr. Rosie out at drrosie.com for her books, articles, and archives of her internet talk show. Sit at the feet of wisdom. Dr. Milligan is indeed a timekeeper and scorekeeper. She is the clock, calendar, and almanac for Black America. You need to hear her.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Another show, another day, another life. My name is Ricky Davis, and I will be filling in today for Dr. Rosie Milligan on the live radio talk show. We have a special show today. I have a special guest co-host. Her name is Miss Somone Washington, and we're going to be talking about something I think everybody will be able to participate in and really shed light. The topic for today is, if men are from Mars and women are from Venus, is there enough space to coexist in the universe? At this time, I want to just say thank you to Dr. Rosie for allowing me to host today. We had a wonderful event this past Saturday. I had part 2 of my book release party. But this time it was more of a conversation piece in the living room. Dr. Rosie was there on the panel along with others, and Miss Somone, she was definitely the great moderator who was able to balance out the whole entire show. So I just want to say thank you to the both of you for participating. We had some really good discussions, good conversations. We had the audience reading some of the poetry expressions in my book. And the book, of course, is the book that I have out. It's called When a Mustard Seed Gets Heavy. And I want to say thank you to everybody. But at this time, I want to introduce somebody who a lot of you may know, a lot of you may not know. She's also an author and a publisher. She's also a business coach. She's an IT specialist. And I'm just going to turn this over to Miss Somone Washington. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for the conversation. Thank you, Dr. Rosie, for having us. I'm super excited.
Yeah, so just tell us a little bit about your background, Miss Washington, for those who are tuning in. Yes, you are also a publisher and an author. Tell us a little bit about your book and also just your experience.
Yes, so I wrote a book last year called The Best of All Things, A Tapestry of Faith, Hope, Resilience, and the Human Connection. And it's all about a 6-year period of my life where I was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure. I went through dialysis and ultimately kidney transplant. So I'm celebrating my 15th year since then now, and just raising awareness about the importance of becoming a registered donor and how important that is, especially for our community.
That's good. That's good. Tell us a little bit about what you're hoping for people to know about being a donor, as well as what it takes to survive past the statistic and the odds of having a kidney transplant.
Yes, it really is my goal to speak to as many people as possible, speak to them through this book and just conversation to talk about the reasons why people may be apprehensive about becoming a donor, like understanding what it really means, what we're really asking when we say to register to become a donor, and how impactful it is to allow someone to have a second chance at life after you have lived yours to the fullest. And I just live my life as an example of what a gift of life in that way can look like, and what these 15 years has meant to me and my family, and all that I've been able to accomplish because someone thought it not robbery to allow me to live, as an extension of their family member.
That's good. That's really good. Really good to hear. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I think this topic is going to be something exciting, especially when you have male and female
Yes.
together on the screen. So let's just get right into it. So for those who are just tuning in, my name is Ricky Davis, and I'm taking over today gratefully for Dr. Rosie. And this topic is very controversial, but we're not going to be controversial. We're going to be insightful. We're going to pour out some information, and we want to hear from you, the audience. For those of you who are tuning in, whether you're on the phone call or you're tuning in on Zoom, hopefully this will be something you can participate in. So let's get right into it. If men are from Mars and women are from Venus, is there enough space to coexist in the universe? Let's just talk about some things. Is communication enough for a healthy romantic relationship? How important is emotional intelligence between a man and a woman? Are you qualified to meet the standards for a potential mate? Are you an Ephesians 5 man pursuing a Proverbs 31 woman in order to create a 1 Corinthians 13 love? Has gender equality turned into gender competition? Are we building bridges or keeping score? The modern woman is educated, independent, and running businesses. So the modern man is trying to figure it out, where he fits in the world, and often tells him he's either not enough or too much. And lastly, women are tired of being everything to everyone. So let's just jump right into it. Let's do the first one. Is communication enough for a healthy romantic relationship, considering women are more communicative than men? Let's see what you have to say about that.
Well, first of all, I'm really excited for this conversation because normally my talks are around, the importance of organ donation. And so a lot of people only know my opinions around that subject, either that or IT, because I'm IT by trade. So this is an opportunity to hear opinions, for a new topic. And if we're talking about communication in romantic relationships, based on my experience, I have learned
Recording in progress.
It's not enough to say that communication is important. It is not enough to demonstrate or exercise communication in relationships. It also really matters that we understand that everybody has different communication styles. And it's important for us to take the time to learn our partner's communication style to make sure that we're understanding what it is that they're trying to communicate, because we're all using the same language, we're all speaking the same language, we may be using the same words, but the person that we're communicating with may mean something different than what we think it means. And so that takes time, that takes patience, and it takes intention to listen for understanding and not listen for my chance to respond or listen for, something bad to then come back and attack the person from, but really listen to hear and understand and learn the other person's communication style.
That's good. That's good. Now, what's interesting about that is what I'm hearing. In order to accomplish that, wouldn't you agree that there has to be a level of patience in regards to dealing with someone? Because a lot of times people tend to hear first before they listen, because they're so quick to respond. And before they respond, they're already thinking about how they're going to respond. So instead of listening to what a person is saying, they already got, a defense, or they have something that they have ready to just unleash. And then before it even comes out, they interrupt. And they start talking over the other person because they're so quick to defend or respond instead of just listening. I know for me, I had to grow into communicating effectively because I came from a household where you don't speak unless you're spoken to, and don't say anything unless I ask you to say anything. That's how I was raised. And for me, to have that kind of background and then to now get to a place where I allow my kids to be able to speak freely, it's amazing how much I've learned about how well communication is. And so I know patience is something you must have. And Dr. Rosie, I will say this to you. I thank you for the platform because I think getting back to the basics of communication is going to impact relationships better when people learn to embrace their roles, but also allow the other person the voice that they need to have in order to speak. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting when we think about communication and relationship. I think the problem that we really have, Ricky, is because we only understand the verbal communication. I think
Yeah.
when you're dealing in relationship, you have to understand that nonverbal, that tone, that facial expression, this withdrawal. You read so much is communicated non-verbally than it is verbally. And I think that's the point that we tend to ignore when the person is turned off, when they're no longer listening to you, when they, really saying, look, I'm about sick of this. We've gone over this 100 times. You
Yes.
don't read that because he didn't say it. So I think we really have to hone in on that nonverbal language, and that will help us have a better relationship with our mate. Reading them, reading the unspoken words, especially for men, because a lot of times they don't speak a lot, but they show it. If you pay attention, you can tell when they're about sick of you. Okay, you can tell what they have heard enough.
No, you're right. And also too, and as I'm looking at the chat, I thank you for those who are engaged already. Tone and body language is so important because I know that my tone can be a little high, not because I'm yelling, but because of just my modulation. And so when someone brings that to my attention, instead of being so quick and defensive, I say, you know what? I'm not yelling and I'm not screaming. It's just that's my modulation. So I'm just letting you know I am listening to you and I want to get centered back into this conversation. So a lot of times tone and body language can be misconstrued. And I think it's so important for people to express themselves and explain themselves so it won't be misinterpreted versus getting so defensive and starting the argument war. And so I think that's really important. What I would like to do right now, I don't want to do a whole lot of talking. I want to hear from the audience because we got some active people in the chat room. For those individuals who want to participate, Dr. Rosie, can you let them know how they can get in?
Yes, the phone number, if they want to call, they can call 1-669-444-9171. That's 1-669-444-9171. And if you're already on with us at Zoom, you can go to reaction button and you raise your hand, or just open your mic, and I think Ms. Rick will let you have your comment. So if you're not familiar with all the buttons that you push, so can they just open the mic and he'll recognize you? Elaine's sitting up there like she just burning to say something.
Yeah. And Stanley is too. So
Okay.
Let's.
but your mute button is to your left. Unmute and open your mic and chime in.
Who you taking first, Mrs. Stanley?
Yeah, he's like he's chomping at the bit right now. So
All right, Mr. Stanley, you available?
I don't know if you're talking about me. If
There you go.
you are. Okay.
it looked like you were waving your hand. So
Okay, yeah. Hi, Miss Rosie.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm up here up northern Michigan with all the kids. But this is kind of meant for your guest, and I apologize for not remembering her name. But you must read this recent New York Times article about organ donation. And the article brings up some very negative aspects of the current state of organ donation. And the reason I think it's so important for you to know about it is because somebody, if you haven't read it, somebody's going to raise it up to you. And I think you need to do everything in your power to try to counteract what this article wrote, what the subject of the article was. And it was very eye-opening and very hurtful, actually.
yeah.
Can you send it to me? Dr. Stan, can you send it to me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, so I have read the article. I was on a town hall discussion last week about it, and the guests were fellow organ recipients. And this is something that happens on an annual basis. There's a news outlet that uses this topic as a way to get viewers and readers to their platform. They inflate numbers and they exaggerate situations, and it is pretty damaging to the process of getting people on board to become donors when they inflate instances that are like 1 or 2% of the overall process, successful process of transplantation. So yes, I am aware of the article and I am doing all that I can to counteract it. We all are in the, recipient and transplant community. So thank you for bringing that up, Stanley.
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you.
Stanley, he's an author, Ricky. He was at Black Writers on Tour.
Okay,
He's a
great.
former, I say OBGYN, but you never get out of it once you're that. He just chooses not to deliver babies now. He's trying to deliver book babies,
Book babies.
instead of human babies.
Book
Okay.
babies. That's good. We have time for one more comment before we move on to the next topic. Anybody else want to share about what we talked about previously about communication?
I see Charles' hand up. Charles and Elaine.
I think Elaine's first, and then Charles. Your mute button is to your left. Go ahead.
No, I'll yield to Charles. Charles can take the spot. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Charles. Unmute. There you go.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's very interesting to mention the communication part between men and women. I know that, as Dr. Milligan was speaking on, men actually listen, well, they hear. They don't really listen initially, and sometimes it takes a while before it sinks in. But I think what happens in most relationships is, when you get the back and forth where people are talking at each other, nobody wants to be rational in the beginning, where somebody needs to just sit down and just calm down and let somebody speak first. But I think when you have, when you want to talk about something that's a little bit more in depth, I think, it's not that, men should want to be the one to lead in that conversation, but I think they should in most case scenarios, because I think when women want to communicate, we have to be a little bit more susceptible and a little bit more understanding as to maybe it's something that was missed and why it's important to talk about it. Sometimes we can get, I'm talking about men, that is, sometimes men can get a little bit off the cuff and just really just want to say what he has to say, and that's that. But he's not willing to listen a lot of times. And so there is a time and a place for that. But I think in just learning a little bit more about, what it is to be in a relationship is what helps the relationship in general and as a whole. And so men have to work a little bit harder at that. And I think that's where it has to start. It has to start with the man.
That's good. No, that's good. You hit it right on the tail, and I appreciate you stepping up, acknowledging that, being transparent, because we as men, we do have a responsibility to set the tone and set the foundation and not blame the woman for what is not happening correctly or what they're not saying, because at the end of the day, a woman is going to follow a man's lead, whether she wants to or not, whether it's going to be down the right path or it's going to be down the wrong path. So, Elaine, you want to go ahead and tap in before we go to the next subject? I don't want to leave you.
No, I don't have anything really to comment on communications. Even though I teach that in project management, for the sake of timing, I think I'd let you go ahead with the rest of the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Ricky, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Are men more impatient than women? Women like to cover things 2 or 3 times. They like to go over it. Men don't want to hear it but once.
Yes.
What's that about?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the logic part of it.
Yes.
I think because
say that again, black man.
I really believe that the logical part of a man's brain
Yeah.
is that we want to process what's necessary at the moment and then allow that moment to take part in whatever needs to be taken. For example, when you look at information overload,
Yes.
men don't do well with information overload because we're all about processing what's important at that moment.
Just say it, Ricky. You want her to get to the point.
Yes, we want her to get to the point. No, but I'm really trying to
true.
be, delicate here because
Yeah.
a woman's mind is way different than a man's mind. Her
It is.
brain operates differently. So when
It
you
is.
look at the emotional part of it, and that's actually going into my next topic about the emotional intelligence, but based on a woman's emotional intelligence and based on a man's logical intelligence, those two are both needed together to be a positive force. However, a man's logic sets the stage to stay on track and to keep things in perspective. But also, too, a woman's emotional side is what allows a man to open up and really expand his horizon so he can actually be better. And that's leading to my next question.
Yeah, well, women can't really get to a logical solution unless they go through their emotions first. And men have to be patient with that. I don't know if you probably know that. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. And that's why I want to get to the next topic.
So I want to jump in here because there are two things that I think need to be said. It's important for both humans who are having a discussion with each other to come in with a certain intention. Are you coming into this conversation with the intention to argue or with the intention to understand? That sets the tone for the conversation moving forward.
Yeah.
Both parties having a conversation need to be at a certain level of self-awareness, self-regulation, and emotional intelligence in order to have a productive conversation. So if you are self-aware and you know how to self-regulate, then because what we're not going to say on this platform is that the women are the only ones coming with emotions into conversations. So that's just not true.
But I don't think that's what we're not doing.
That's what's been said. That's what has been said by the men.
That's not what's been.
I have heard nothing said.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, let me
go.
Coming into a conversation, and so I'm saying that is also a part of what happens in these conversations. So I'm simply saying that if both people are at a certain level of self-awareness and self-regulation and emotional intelligence, then the communication happens more successfully.
Well, I don't have any intelligence. If you come home and you done spend all your money, the mortgage is not paid, and the children are hungry, my intelligence have just escaped.
Okay, Somone, what we're saying is, I think what I'm saying and what Ricky's saying, we're really talking to men. You're going to have more patience and let her work through it instead of, because men will say, can you please just get to the point and tell me what's wrong? And that's the problem with men. So we're telling men you have to have more patience and let her work through it in her process and then understand it. She'll get there, but the thing is she takes a different path than we do. And we take a different path to expressing emotions than you do. So the thing is, we're telling men have to have more patience because I know I can be that way where, okay, I hear all that, I don't need the whole story, blah, blah, blah. Just give me the point, give me the bullet points so I can get to the problem. And the thing is, I've learned that you have to let her work through it. And then once she works through it, then we can get to wherever the point you need the solution.
That's right. We need to tell the whole story, okay?
Yeah. Yes. And that's the reason, and that is the reason why the next topic question is, how important is emotional intelligence between a man and a woman? It's very important because you can't have one without the other. Now, Somone, I do appreciate what you said, and I do want to speak for men as far as being open-ended and vulnerable. Women teach men patience. Let's just get that out the way. Women teach men patience. Why? Because men are very impatient, like Keith was talking about. Men want to get to the point. I don't want to hear it. So women's job really is to teach men patience, and a man's job is to teach a woman how to be specific and exact and clear, which means what? No one's right or wrong or indifferent because we both need each other. I know for me personally, I can speak for myself. I've learned so much from a woman just based on listening. because as I'm listening, I'm able to understand what she's really coming from, where she's going, and how she's trying to get there. A lot of times, she will go at her own speed and she'll go in her own direction. And it may be different than, say, a direction I want to go. But if I can just kind of learn and understand why she's choosing that direction and why she's going that way, then I can better deal with her and better connect with her. And so I think when you look at the emotional intelligence, this is really clear. If you're not willing to be honest, if you're not willing to be vulnerable, and you're not willing to be patient, then you shouldn't be in any type of relationship with the opposite sex, because that's going to be required in order for you to be successful. Now, what do you have to say to that?
Ricky, I think you're going to have part 2 to this show, because this is really deep. What you just said about the impatient want to get right to the point, that also applies to sexual activity.
Ooh,
Oh, wow. See,
oh, here
you know
we
what,
go.
Dr.
Ooh,
Rosie?
now you're
See?
dropping the bomb. There you go.
See, there you go,
See,
Dr.
there you
Rosie.
go. There you go. I'm calling the church right now.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr.
Okay.
Lane, what do you have to say about it? Mr. Lane, go ahead.
They quiet now.
Now,
Hi. So
she
I'm
chomping
not
at the
going to
bit.
talk about sexual activity because there may be children on this line. Okay, so
No,
we're
I
going to
hope
keep
No
not.
it
children
I hope
on the
not.
No children.
line.
No
Yeah,
children.
yeah,
No
but
children.
we have to really go back to hunter-gatherer, right? The
Mhm.
men or the hunters, right? The men
Mhm.
have to stay focused, and the women actually we have to make sure that the children are safe.
Yes,
So as a
exactly.
woman, I know that I am like thinking 20 steps ahead. What if, what if, what if, what if? I'm
Mhm.
like I'm a great chess player, great tennis player. I'm very strategic. And
Mhm.
so when my husband would be like, "Where'd you get that from?" My God, there's like 20 steps ahead. What's the chance of that happening? But what if? So as women, we are thinking multiple layers out. We're just thinking all the possibilities at the same time. But there is a joke that's online that shows the male brain and the
Mhm.
female brain.
Mhm.
And the
Okay.
female brain has all of these things, all these buttons, and take
Mhm.
care of the kids, cook,
Yep. Yep.
take care of this, do that, balance the account. And the male brain is money, cars, sex. That was it. That was all that was in
It,
the man's brain. And the woman had, like, her whole brain was just full of stuff. So my point is that the women, we bring this strategic approach. And when we talk to men, we're thinking, what if he says this? If he says this, I'm going to say that. We're just like that. That's just
you have
who we
you're having
are.
your own internal dialogue, and that's what
Yeah.
even before you even talk to the man. My girlfriends used to tell me that all the time. They've already had a conversation with me before they even talked to me.
Yeah. I mean, hey, but I will.
Simone, come on, Simone, come on. She's smiling. Come
No,
on.
I agree. I
Go
agree.
ahead.
But see, that's where the self-awareness and self-regulation comes in, because I
Hmm.
still do that,
Hmm.
but I don't go as far into it as I used to. And I'm like, wait, let me stop. Let me go have a conversation with him to clarify, because I'm not sure. And so that's what I've learned to do. So instead of having the entire conversation by myself, I'll have a couple of thoughts about it, and I'll just be like, wait, let me just ask him. And then we have the actual conversation.
So I do have a question.
Simone said she learned, Ricky. That's
No,
why
she learned.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
love
what
it.
you're doing, even
She's
from your
advanced.
seminar that you had on Saturday. The point is, that's why you're doing this show. We need to learn.
To learn. That's
We
it.
need to learn, and then we can do better and
Yeah.
have more wholesome relationships. Just want to say thank you. That's all.
No, that's good. But I do have a question, and I appreciate you, saying that. Being teachable requires humility. Learning requires patience. If you don't have those two, you're going to be a fool in your own ignorance with anything. And I think with relationships, people have the tendency to want to do relationships their way based on their comfort level. And so I have a question for Simone. Based on those who are learning, like yourself, and taking the time out to think before you speak, why do you think people hold on to what bothers them and then wait till later on to bring it up after the smoke has already cleared?
I'm going to answer, and then I'll let Charles jump in. I saw that he had his unmute.
Okay.
So it could be for two reasons, but again, I go back to intention. Like, what is your intention for holding on to this information?
Yes.
Are you holding on to it because you're processing it as part of your self-awareness and regulation. Are you checking in with yourself to see if you took it personally when it wasn't meant that way,
Gotcha.
or if it was a trigger based on some previous experiences that don't have anything to do with this person that actually said it to you? Are you holding on to it for that reason, for further processing, to make sure you're not having an emotional response? Or are you holding on to it as ammunition to use in an argument later?
That's good.
It all goes back to what your intention is for
That's
holding
good.
on to the thing. Charles, what did you want to say about it?
Yeah, well, first, as far as the emotional intelligence, that's a two-pronged thing, and that is, men are never going to be rational in an actual conversation with a woman. Okay, that's never going to happen. The thing is like, how important is the relationship? Because if the relationship is important, then it's always important that he downloads, shall I say, he puts himself in the situation to say, I've got to do what's necessary. So when you speak from the emotional intelligence part, we as men have got to learn that everything does not have to be on 10, because when you jump to 10, you've already ran past everything else, which means you probably missed 6 or 7 things in between. So it's not about the women actually having to teach the men. The men have to be willing to listen to another side. That's where the problem comes in of listening, because most men do not know how to listen. That's where we also talk about the critical thinking part, because as you were talking about, what about holding on to something that's happened, and you said that they've already closed that door. That door was never closed. And the reason why it was never closed is because there were some parts on both sides, both men and women, that they're holding on to, because there's got to be a gotcha moment, and I told you you was wrong. Instead of just clearing the air. Nobody really wants to clear the air, because clearing the air means that, okay, you win and I win, or she wins or he wins. So nobody's willing to do that.
Yes.
Nobody's willing to do that. So unless they decide, again, the importance of the relationship, then that's where they say, hey, we need to do this. We need to work on this. If you need to add some help by doing marriage counseling, couples counseling, go do that. But that's going to be hard to get the man to do that, because men do not like the idea of having to spill some part of his personal life to somebody else that's really trying to help. So he always feels like he can always fix it when you can't fix everything.
There you go.
That's the ego. We got to get rid of that ego.
That's good. No, that's good, Charles.
Rick,
Good luck.
women are holding on to it. So when they bring it to you, they have 5 or 6 things to show you, not just wrong this time.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to show you the whole pile that you've been wronged on this one, on this one. Oh, I got you. So we coming to you with, I got you. And you guys going to let Charles get away saying that men are not rational? I don't believe you all.
We're not. Well, the thing is, we let you. I think what Ricky's trying to do is to let people speak freely, but men are very rational. In fact, they're probably too rational. That's the problem.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's, well, let me say this too. It goes back, and I know I respect what Charles is saying, because if you're not emotionally intelligent, then yes, you're going to have a struggle being rational. You know what I'm saying? Because that is it. You have to, this thing is called maturation. You got to mature and elevate to a place where you can hold your own in a conversation without being defensive, without being self-centered, and allowing the other person the space and time to express themselves, but also to not do anything to put them down, but lift them up. So what Charles is saying is true for those individuals who are not at that level yet. And a lot of men today don't want to get to that level because, like Charles said, they're dealing with ego. They're dealing with pride.
It's okay. The thing is, amongst men, okay, anybody, if you deal with a bunch of men, whether it's on a sports team, whether it's at a bar, whatever it is, okay, men don't go through all that, okay? We don't communicate that way. We don't do that, okay? Okay, and men express their emotions through activities, okay? In other words, if you go fishing, you go hunting, you're on a ball court, whatever it is, men will then start to feel comfortable enough to open up. The thing is, that's our communication style. It's not that either one is wrong. The thing is that they're different.
Yeah,
And what
yeah,
we're trying to, what I think what Simone and you were trying to do is, if you really want to get together, you're going to have to understand each other's communication style. That's what men are from Mars and women are from Venus is that it's not that either one is wrong. The thing is that we have to make an extra effort to understand what her communication style is, and she has to do it on the other way around. Like Simone has learned, okay, that I have to learn his communication style, and I have to communicate the way he understands it. What I think it was in the Bible, right? I can speak angel talk, right, but it doesn't do any good if I speak angel talk and nobody understands what I'm saying, okay? And that's the way men and women have to communicate, okay? I have to understand how to communicate with her because the way she thinks and the way her brain is wired is not the way my brain is wired. So I can't speak to her like I speak to my boys. And vice versa. She can't speak to me the way she speaks to her girls, okay? They will have to learn that there has to be a middle ground. I have to speak to him the way he understands it, the way he can digest it, and then vice versa. He's going to have to understand how I like to hear. Like the thing about tone, okay? Women are very explicit on tone. It doesn't matter what the information is. Tone is very important. So a
yeah.
man has to learn that, okay, if I use a certain tone, I don't care what it is, she's going to block that out, okay?
Exactly. Now
Look, smile, Simone. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
baby.
want to open up the
There's going to
line.
have to be a part two. I
Yes,
can see
yes.
this coming to part
Yeah.
two.
And I want people to
There's-
jump in because, okay, you guys are on. All you have to do is unmute your mic and jump in.
For those who are calling, those who are listening on the
Yeah.
actual line, those who call the line, just unmute if you want to jump in, say something because we want
Say
to
something.
make sure. Yeah, we open up the lines for those who are listening. Anybody that wants to unmute?
Your unmute button's to your left. If you want to say something, just unmute your mic and jump in.
I think for those who are calling, I think it's the star button. I think that's what it is. Okay, so let me
Jump right in, Miss Elaine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say it's not a I got you, but it's please don't take advantage of me. So I need to watch
Yes.
every signal you're sending and make sure that we cross it off the list so that everything is kosher as we move forward.
No, that's good. No, you said it, and that goes to the next topic, and that is building bridges. Are we building bridges or are we keeping score? I think that if we get to a place where we're going into a situation where we're trying to lift each other up and build together, then we won't be spending so much time trying to tear each other down. I think it takes a lot for a person to sit there and really take the time to get to know someone and knowing how to ask the right questions. Dr. Rosie, I'm sure you can attest to this. If you don't ask the right questions, you're going to get frustrated with the answers that you receive because you're not really getting what you want. I think a lot of people don't take the time to think about what they're going to say before they say it. They just say what's on their mind. And as a result, it may come off a certain kind of way. And before you know it, it can either be a full-blown argument or it can be a misinterpretation.
You're absolutely right. And the point, the topic is great. Are you building bridges? Are you keeping score? Are you keeping score of how many times this person didn't do something? How many
Yes.
times this, I did more than you? That comes into sometime, we look at it when people talk about salary. I bought this. I paid for this. Are you keeping scores? Are
Mm-hmm.
you building bridges? Are you in this thing, everybody giving 100% and not saying I gave 50 and you gave 40? Are you keeping scores? Are you building bridges for a great relationship?
Yes. Simone,
Yeah.
you have something to say?
I just wanted to add that in the spirit of building bridges and better communication, one thing that I've learned through previous experiences is that men have a lot of things on their minds as well. They're the providers, they're the protectors. So, like, they're looking at environments differently because they're protecting, right? They are thinking about a lot of different things at one time because they're thinking about how to provide in different ways. If you have kids, they are thinking about the protection and the providing of the kids as well. And so a lot of times when we come with a conversation or we say something and we feel like we need to say it a lot of different times, is because we came at them at a time where they're doing something else or their mind is full of other things. And so what has been helpful with me and what I have learned to do is that if I don't have eye contact with that man, he is probably not hearing what I'm saying. I may have to touch his hand or touch his shoulder or rub his back or something to get his attention because he has so many things going on in order for him to hear me in that moment so that I only have to say it once. Because sometimes when we feel like we have to say it more than once is because he wasn't paying attention the first 3 times we said it. And so I was always trying to figure out a way, like, how do I say it one time so I'm not nagging or feel like I'm nagging? And it's because I have to make sure I have his attention first before I say the thing.
And don't say it while he's watching the game.
Come on. Come on now. Come
Don't
on.
bother.
Come on. Now, can I say this? If you want his attention during the game, make sure the wings, the potato wedges, and the drinks are coming on a regular basis. You gonna always have some conversation, but if you try to get in the way of that, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. And the first thing, if you want him to remember the first time, I'm gonna tell you, okay, you have to explain to him why is this important on the list of things I have to do. Okay, in other words, men have a list from like 1 to 50. Okay. In other words, the things that go to the top of the list, he's gonna remember that. Okay, I got to do this right now. I got to remember this right now. I got to put this on my agenda right now. So you have to explain to him, not, baby, can you take out the trash or can you do this? Hey, baby, I need the trash to go out right now because there's flies all over the trash and basically we're gonna have a mess. Okay. Or something like that. Okay, and in other words, he's going to say, oh, hell, I got to do this right now. Okay, I can't just wait and push it off. So you got to explain to him what in order of importance is it that he needs to do it right now. If it's 1, he's going to remember he's going to do it either now or he's going to do it very soon. If it's 50, he's going to say, oh, I can push that off to, 3 months later, it's not really that important. He's gonna say, okay, just get you out of the way. He's gonna move on. But then you have to explain to him why this is actually important.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's communication. That's effective communication,
yeah. And that's the way men think. So
yeah. And so, but I do want to say this, Keith, and I appreciate that. A lot of times, what us men do, and I say us, what we do a lot of times is we think and expect a woman to just get it, to just figure it out. They're supposed to just know. And a lot of times they're wrong because a woman does not think like a man, just like a man don't think like a woman. So I think a lot of times what we as men need to do more of is spending that extra time really helping that woman understand us, even though we may think she does. Because I would rather be safe than sorry, because there's going to be a rainy day. There's going to be a stormy day that you're going to need that credibility and that extra credit for that woman to be a little extra sensitive, because women go through so many things that they don't understand themselves. And if that man is there constantly trying to be sensitive enough and patient enough with her, then it's going to actually return, back. And so I think a lot of times men just need to really just get out of their high horse mentality, get off their ego, get off their tripping, and just learn to just sit down. Because this is the thing. Whatever you want to get out of a woman is what you got to put in her. And that's the bottom line.
And Ricky, don't think that I think the way the last woman you with thinks.
Come on.
Just want to put it in
perspective. Say that again. No, say that again.
Just want to put it in perspective.
Say it again, Dr.
Don't
Rosie.
go in assuming that I think the way the last woman that you were with thinks.
There you go.
I think initially, both men and women go into relationships wanting to build bridges, and that's what they start out doing. But I think eventually over time, as they start to splinter, is when they start keeping score. Now, why are they keeping score? Is because there's so many different things that's happening, and they're talking at each other instead of to each other.
To each other, yep.
And so if they're going to actually build that relationship, they are going to have to do everything possible, especially from the initial phase, of actually keeping that relationship intact and doing everything that's necessary. We have that issue to where both men and women sometimes cannot be communicable. They don't realize it, but they're not being communicable. And so with that, in that situation, that's when they start to splinter. And as they start to splinter, they're both keeping score. But what's the purpose of keeping score, especially once you get to at least 7 years of being in a relationship, and then you say, well, it's done. And it's done because nobody's willing to say, well, I made this mistake. I made this mistake. They're not going to talk about it that way. They're just doing this.
Yeah,
that's all they're doing.
Forth each other. Yeah, going back and forth with each other. I agree with that. I think that a lot of times people go in trying to outdo the other person, or they're trying to show up the person, and that brings up to the next topic. When you look at the modern woman, and I have to address this because I want Somone to expound on this. When you look at the modern woman who's educated, independent, and running her own business, why do you believe or feel that sometimes causes a man to feel intimidated or feel less than?
I don't think that question is for me. That's for the men. Like, why?
No.
Like
I mean,
that?
have you dealt with men? No, have you dealt with men like that? I'm asking from a personal experience. I don't know your pedigree.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Have you dealt with men like that? And if you have, why do you think that is? Because you are educated, you're independent, you have your own business.
I can tell you why. Because black men and women have failed to realize that they are not Caucasian clones, that they should measure themselves by mainstream media. Once they realize we're not Caucasian clones, then you will not be measuring a person by who makes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
okay?
but what are the messages that we get even today in not only mainstream media, in schools, everything else, and even by the women in our own families? What kind of message do men get about providing, protecting, and being the leader of the family? What kind of message do we? We're trained in a certain way, okay, and it takes.
It's still mainstream, Keith, because if mainstream say the man should bring in the bacon, we should not internalize what anyone say that we need to be doing as a people, as a race, because we are not on equal playing field. We never started out and look like we're not going to get close to being that. So it's time that we focus on what really is. And because it's so much out there about when a woman make more money, she think, we didn't say that. We never said that. That's been in the air. And men come with that preconception about how I feel because I'm making, a lot of money. I didn't say that. So you don't allow the woman the opportunity to express or decompress. That's what we call misconception and myth out there about relationship. We must not buy into it. Because these women, you can talk to professional women, they are not thinking that way. They are looking for a decent, lovable man. They are not looking at the fact, well, I'm making more money. They are not, and nobody have asked that question. They just make the assumption. I've had people say to me, well, what can I buy you for a birthday? You got everything. All that craziness. If whatever I have, if I have a car, hell, can I have two? If you want to buy me another one. I'm just saying.
A friend of mine, he actually wrote a book, and he talked about the concept of a female hierarchy group, right? And I always tell men, okay, if you're in a committed relationship, and you need to meet her 5 best friends, because that's going to be in her ear. And so if a woman makes more money than you, okay, and she's cool with it, okay, gotta see if her 5 best friends are cool with it too, because if not, they're gonna say, why are you with him? He's not doing this, that, and so, and he's at home, he's not ambitious enough, blah blah blah. So you're really gonna have to not only talk to her, but also her hierarchy group, her best friends, because that's her counsel, okay?
I think that's true.
But let's keep Ricky. I want you to recognize there are people who not in, but they did go and put something in the chat. So before you exit, can you read? Just recognize that they participate.
I'll do that.
Okay,
not a problem. Somone, as you were saying.
Yeah, there's a whole other conversation going on in the chat. It's a whole we got
we got
life
me and Elaine
coaching
going
and
back
therapy going on all in the chat. So my answer is number one, if we are women and we're not in a romantic relationship, we have to maintain ourselves. We have to survive. So we have to get a job, get a place to stay, have transportation. And whatever that looks like, this is how I'm taking care of myself and my kids if I have kids. And so when a man comes along and he may be feeling intimidated by my situation, that is not a fault of mine of how he is experiencing my situation. What was I supposed to have been doing until he came along? Was
Yeah,
I
no, you're right.
living, home?
You're right.
Like what, right?
But though,
So it's been my experience that a lot of the negative responses I've got from men that I was either in a relationship with or interested in is because my situation was holding up a mirror to his situation, and it was a reflection of how he felt about himself and his situation. It had very little to do with me and what I had going on, because that is just what I had been doing with my time. But he wasn't okay with his situation, and so instead of saying that and being honest and being vulnerable in conversations with me, he would say other things to try to make me feel less than and try to lower my self-esteem and try to make me feel like, oh, I'm all that in a bag of chips because I have this, and that, and other. And the truth of the matter is he is not comfortable with his current situation.
yes, no, I agree. I agree with that. And so we got a few more minutes, and we're going to close out and we're going to address the chat. But I do want to say this, Somone. Those men, unfortunately, are not men. They're grown boys. I was going to use the A word, but we're on a radio show. I'm not Dr. Rosie. But
They grown ass boys. That's what you're trying to say.
So they grown boys. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're a grown boy, you're not gonna know how to act like a man. And that, like the last topic of conversation, and you summed it up very well. You got a lot of men that saying they're tired of being told they're soft and they're too controlling. Well, you cause that upon yourself, because that's a level of insecurity. That's a lack of immaturity. And if you're not ready to deal with a real woman, then you need to continue to deal with some girls, because girls are going to be fickle. They're going to be up and down, sometimey, and they're not going to be serious. But if you want to deal with a real ass woman, was that cool, Dr. Rosie? Okay, when you want to deal with a real ass woman, then you have to be a real ass man to complement that. And so a lot of times women tend to give a pass. I don't know if you've done this or not, Somone, but they tend to give a pass and give a grown ass boy a chance, give them the benefit of the doubt. And once that doesn't work out, then they're still left with nothing. And so I just think that at the end of the day, we have to ask the right questions at the beginning. We have to be able to acknowledge those red flags and look at those signs. And then we got to measure up and say, is this somebody I can see building with or pouring into me? Or do I see this person trying to take out of me or take away from me where I'm left depleted? And so I think that's something that we have to look at. So let's just go over the chat. We got a few minutes. Like you said, Somone.
Ricky, can you do part 2? I think you need to continue this next week.
I mean, Somone, are you down to do that? Or are your schedule too busy?
I say let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, then we're going to do part 2.
She's chomping at the bit.
Part 2.
So Somone, let's Somone, if you don't mind, can you just kind of break down what's going on in the chat? Because there's some real good juicy stuff.
Yeah, so under the conversation about communication, Elaine brought up a good point about tone and how sometimes when men raise their voice in conversations, like sometimes people are triggered by that. And because, in their experience, raising your voice means there's going to be an argument, means that there may be some violent behavior following. And so that is a barrier to communication for some people. And if I could add to that, our relationship with our fathers play a part in how we as women receive tone in a conversation with the man. And so go ahead, Elaine, to elaborate.
Hi, so I wanted to share something that I found on LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, it was probably YouTube or something, but there was this man that met this woman. And when you meet a guy and you really like him and the vibes are going, and he says, hey, they're walking down in New York, and they pass a fur shop, and she's looking at the fur, and he says, "You like it?" He says, "Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. I love fur." He says, "Let's go in. Let's try it on." "Oh no, I could not afford it." So he encourages her to go in and try it on. He said, "Oh my God, that's so you. You want it? I'll get it for you." "Oh my God." So you know when a guy does something for you, like, "Oh my God," your head is like blown. "Oh wow, he did this for me." So he says, "I don't have enough money. Let me give a deposit and I'll come back and you guys clean it up, get it ready for my woman." And they're like, "Yeah, sure, Mr. So-and-so," and they write it all up. And that night, right, she does all kinds of stuff for him. We're not going to go into details, but you know what happens when somebody does something really nice for you. You
Oh
want
yeah.
to do something really nice for
All
them.
game.
Next day, you go for the fur, right? He says, "Just go pick it up. It's all yours. I made the payment." Go there. His check bounced and it never was
Game.
paid.
Yeah. It's game. Yeah. It's
Game.
Okay,
it's game.
so I mean, look at Charles. Charles is laughing. Charles said,
It's
"You never
game. It's
did that.
game. That's
Shame,
game.
shame,
It's a
shame,
game.
shame on you,
That's game. That's
Charles."
a game. Yeah.
That's game.
I
Well,
just want to
see,
say
you don't get
great.
anything from me until the check been cashed.
You know,
And vice versa. You spend $300 on dinner thinking you're gonna get something. And guess what?
we talking about
We're friend
transaction.
zone.
We talking
Transaction.
about
Yeah.
transactional
Okay,
relationships.
let's
Yeah.
go to the chat. Let's go to
Go
the
ahead, Simone.
chat.
Go
We'll
ahead,
pick
Simone.
that up next week.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
but,
Simone.
but
Finish
me and
up.
Elaine were actually going back and forth about tone, right? And how she's sensitive to tone. And I said you're gonna have to do work to recognize when a man's being aggressive and violent versus when he's just raising his voice. Okay, and women that play sports, okay, basketball, whatever kind of sports, they're used to aggressive tones and knowing it's not violent. So the things they can learn, okay. The thing is, where have you been? Things you're going to have to learn what is the difference between raising my voice, because he has to do it for you, because you're going to raise your voice too. That's going to lead to an altercation versus when they're being expressive.
Keith,
So
don't
you have
want to
to learn.
cut you off, but I know
Okay.
Jamal got another show coming
Okay.
up. Go ahead and finish the
Go ahead and
chat.
say, well, go ahead and announce when the replay is going to happen.
The
Go
replay
ahead.
is going to be at 6 o'clock p.m. at innerlightradio.com. Innerlightradio.com, for those who didn't get a chance to hear it, they can listen to the show at 6 p.m. Simone finished the other thing in the chat because we really want to recognize and appreciate those who jumped in.
Definitely.
Yes, the rest of the chat was just welcoming everyone to the show and thanking you for being here. We do appreciate you being here, and we hope to see you back next week with more insight and hearing your thoughts on the subject as well.
There was one question that Elaine asked that you probably might want to answer. So why do men with successful careers and money fall for women that marry them with plans of divorce? Major rip off of their money. That's also a game, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Those are men that just love control. They want to be the dominant, controlling being who a woman can be dependent upon, so they can actually have the say so. Because if he's the major source of her life, and he's the one that got the bag, and he knows that she doesn't have enough to stand on her own, that makes him feel empowered. It makes him feel, big and good. And so a lot of times men go after what they need to make themselves feel like a man. And so, you have a lot of that. You look like, what you doing with her? Well, the reason he's doing it because he can wrap her around his finger and he can do whatever he want and get what he want. And that way he can go out and do his thing.
Yeah, and also he's thinking with the wrong head too.
There you go. Yes. Yes. So listen, you guys, we are just about done. I want to first of all thank Miss Simone Washington for co-hosting with me. Thank you, Dr. Rosie, for allowing this opportunity. And thank you for everybody that's been in the chat, everybody that's been on the phone call, everybody that's been on Zoom, those who participated. Elaine, Charles, thank you so much. We're going to do part 2 next week, and we are going to make sure we keep sticking our foot in this situation called communication between men and women. Men are from Mars, women from Venus. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
And also, you guys, be looking out for Rick. We're going to do a night show called Put the Kids to Bed. Go ahead on, y'all.
There you go. Put the kids to
Put them
bed.
kids to bed.
Yes.
That's right. I love it. They got to go to sleep sometime.
Call me, Elaine.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you,
You have a
Ricky.
great week.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you, everyone who joined.